Lately, the six of them had grown closer, so Sue suggested they go on a weekend trip together. Hegi, on the other hand, was secretly hoping to see the girls in their female outfits. However, when Tokaiwa and the other two arrived at the meeting spot, the girls were nowhere to be seen. Worse yet, Asagi had been pulled into a car, leaving Tokaiwa and Hegi scrambling to rescue him, only to find that the one holding onto Asagi was Fuji. Kawaku, pressing Fuji down, apologized on her behalf. That day, Sue was the one driving, with a commanding air. She firmly instructed Tokaiwa to sit in the passenger seat. Watching her get into the car, Tokaiwa couldn't help but admire how effortlessly cool Sue looked. He was still fumbling with his seatbelt when Sue leaned over with a smile and effortlessly buckled it for him. As the journey continued, Sue's flirtatious tactics became increasingly bold. Tokaiwa felt like he had somehow stumbled into a shoujo manga, with himself as the heroine. Being relentlessly pursued, their destination was a popular zoo. Sue went ahead and bought 6 tickets. Hegi, still confused, mumbled, "Why are we spending our days off at the zoo with a bunch of handsome guys?" But Sue's real purpose for coming was simple. She wanted to see the pandas. Since there was still some time before the panda exhibit opened, they decided to split up. Sue and Fuji exchanged glances, then swiftly dragged their respective partners away before agreeing to meet at noon. This left Kawaku and Hegi alone together. Hegi was currently experiencing a major identity crisis. He knew Kawaku was a girl, yet seeing her in male attire still made his heart race. Did this mean he wasn't straight? He repeatedly told himself not to feel anything, but just as he turned around, he saw Kawaku in the small animal interaction area, holding a tiny creature in her arms, and she looked adorable. When Kawaku picked up a guinea pig and casually commented, "Hey, doesn't this little guy kind of look like you?" Hegi, without thinking, blurted out, "Cute." He instantly froze. Crap. Kawaku assumed he was talking about the guinea pig, but even she looked momentarily flustered before quickly brushing it off. Both of them were a little too stubborn for their own good. Meanwhile, Fuji had successfully lured Asagi into the insect exhibit. She found a twisted kind of satisfaction in watching cockroaches struggle in a completely safe environment. A true sadist at heart, Asagi, however, was trembling with fear. Unable to take it anymore, he clung to Fuji's waist, buried his face in her shoulder, and shook like a frightened puppy. Fuji, slightly guilty, was about to lead him out of the exhibit when she was distracted by a massive spider. Asagi, thinking they had already exited the insect area, he opened his eyes only to come face to face with the giant spider. His scream echoed through the entire zoo. Tokaiwa vaguely heard Asagi's terrified shriek in the distance, but at that moment, Sue was standing under the sunlight, glowing as she turned back and called him over to look at the tigers. Honestly, the combination of Sue and a tiger suited her way too well. As they made their way back to her group, they stumbled upon a lost little girl. Because Sue looked just like a prince straight out of a fairy tale, the children instinctively trusted her. The two of them brought her to the announcement center, but by the time they finished, they had completely missed the panda exhibit. Tokaiwa considered just letting it go, but when he glanced at Sue, he could tell she was disappointed. She hadn't said anything, but he knew she had been looking forward to this the most. At that moment, a staff member was pushing a cart full of discarded mascot heads past them. A wild idea popped into Tokaiwa's head. He quickly excused himself, borrowed a panda head, and sprinted to the gift shop, where he bought matching pandas and tiger canes. Then, still catching his breath, he returned, now wearing the giant panda head. Sue, seeing the canes he handed her, smiled softly and murmured, "This is exactly what I like about you." The little girl, now awake, stared at them for a long moment before innocently asking, "Are you two dating?" Neither of them answered, but before the question could sink in, the little girl's attention was quickly drawn to the life-size panda mascot standing before her. Later, After safely reuniting with their group, the little girl's father arrived to pick her up. As they were leaving, Sue casually commented, "I still got to see some pandas today." For some time after that, Sue could often be seen carrying around those two K canes wherever she went.